So I haven't read Wuthering Heights, nor have I seen the roughly 10 trillion movie adaptations that already exist. This movie had every opportunity to be the definitive adaptation of this source material. So how did it do? This adaptation comes to us from writer-director Emerald Fennell, who previously did Promising Young Woman and Saltburn, and it once again tells the story of the tumultuous and passionate love story of Catherine Earnshaw and Heathcliff over the course of several years in Yorkshire. Heathcliff is initially a servant in the Earnshaw family, so there's like a forbidden nature to their love, as Cathy is expected to marry up for upward social mobility, but her passion for Heathcliff makes that complicated. And this movie is the moment. It's directed by known internet breaker Emerald Fennell. It stars Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi, both of whom are really hot right now. It's coming out on Valentine's Day, and it features music from Charlie XCX, who's at the height of her career. This movie has all the ingredients to become a major event at the movies, and I think it will be. It's clear that Emerald Fennell really wants to break the internet again by making a very modern adaptation of this classic. I'm going to go through what works about this movie first. It shouldn't take very long. The costume design is really good. This movie is kind of going for a Marie Antoinette thing where a lot of the formal choices are not of the time in which the story takes place. And I think the best aspect in that regard is the costume design. They're all very beautiful to look at, and the production in general is very expensive, but I thought the costumes in particular were actually great. Alison Oliver is a very funny person playing a side character in this film who has some amusing moments, and yeah, that about does it for the positives. I think this movie is a total disaster. Every time something moderately interesting emerges from the story, this movie has like an allergic reaction to it, deals with it as swiftly as possible in like one passing scene so we can get back to the incredibly repetitive scenes of these two central characters lusting after each other. And I'm not saying that this plot isn't ripe for drama, but these scenes are communicating the same thing over and over. There is no interesting progression to their relationship. It goes from I want you but can't have you to you want me and can't have me. There's nothing interesting going on. The yearning and the desire are the headlines of this movie, so it's a real shame that I didn't feel a hint of either. I was entirely unmoved for the whole runtime of this movie, and it requires sensational reactions in order to function. It's a journey that needs to hijack your senses to work, because it's definitely not doing anything interesting in the writing itself. And that's tough because these two lead characters are horrific people. They're awful. I felt no sympathy for them for the entire movie because they're so poorly written. You can make a movie about bad people, but you can't do it with this little interest into why they are the way that they are. And this movie just has no compelling perspective from any of the characters. Definitely not the leads, but also the supporting cast, who is actually kind of the voice of reason here. They aren't really given anything to do except preach to the two lovebirds. I feel like there's a total miscast of these two great talents here. The chemistry between them is non-existent. I never once wanted them to be together, and I also didn't really understand how we were supposed to feel about them. They're remarkably likable people by default, and this is a movie that is so much about ugliness, seemingly, but it can't delve into the ugliness. It never decides to make their ugly actions seen in an ugly way. It can't help but show Margot Robbie as the likable, personable human that she is. Ditto Jacob Elordi. I just didn't buy the nastiness of these two people that the plot requires. And both of these leads have the gravitas to carry a scene. So the fact that these scenes keep falling flat speaks to Emerald Fennell's shortcomings as a writer and director. The whole movie feels so composed. Every shot just feels constructed. It doesn't feel like it's happening organically. I feel like there's a camera present for every moment of this movie. I know that there is, but the best movies make you forget about that. The barrier between you and the screen dissolves, and that never happened here. In every shot, even the ones that were kind of aesthetically pleasing, I was like, I know there's a fog machine right over there. I know someone just pulled Margot Robbie's sleeve over her shoulder right before stepping back out of the frame. Even though Linus Sandgren is the cinematographer here, an absolute legend. Everything feels so inauthentic and forced, and the same can be said of the situations themselves. This plays out like bad fan fiction where the characters are not behaving like humans. They're doing whatever they need to do to get a reaction from the audience, to give the people what they want. And a lot has been made over the years of poorly written female characters from male writers, and there's a lot to be said there. But I also think here we see something very similar when it comes to Heathcliff's character. A horribly written male character from a female writer. The Bechdel test was incorporated because you didn't have a lot of female characters talking to each other, and if they did, they were talking about men. All they cared about was being more desirable and trying to get involved in romantic relationships. That is Heathcliff in this movie. This dude does not care about anything except being in a relationship with Kathy. Every thought he has, every word he says, every move he makes is totally oriented around evoking some kind of emotional or physical response from her. He goes off at one point in the movie and gets very rich in returns, and the movie has no interest in how he got rich so fast. It just needed him to go away and come back wealthy and mysterious. It feels like this character was written by a test group of wine-drunk suburban moms. It was infuriating, and I think deserving of the same criticisms that we've been applying for years to really poorly written females. I don't know why Fennel is so determined to stay on surface level here. Like I said, this movie just glosses over anything interesting that arises. And again, I have not read the book, but there's no way it's become a timeless classic doing this. It's so dumb, and there's no subtext. It is entirely about what is happening right in front of your eyes. This movie is long. The pacing is terrible since it has no interest in exhuming any of the interesting, darker elements of the heart of the story. When things do eventually get more tragic, it just feels jarring and like a total change of pace that wasn't earned. It wants a very emotional reaction out of the audience, but it hasn't laid the groundwork to get it. When it's more focused on the less sexy elements of the story, you can tell Emerald just doesn't really care to portray them with near as much attention to detail as she does for the romance itself. The only theme one could possibly discern from this movie is that the feeling of being in love makes you do unforgivable things to everyone around you, but it doesn't have the teeth to explore that concept well, and it feels like the movie isn't even sure whether it should portray these ugly things in a way that recognizes that they're ugly. It revels in the attraction of these two characters for the entire runtime, but it doesn't really even pay off in that regard. I did not think this movie was satisfying, even if you're not looking for something deeper. This movie is so much more vanilla than it wants you to think that it is. And to be honest, its obsession with itself and its delusion that it was anything greater was really embarrassing. It was so confident in itself at every turn as it just struck out over and over and over again. Absolutely nothing in this movie landed for me. For all of these reasons, Wuthering Heights gets a D+. Emerald Fennell has officially used up the goodwill that she had from me based on Promising Young Woman. I really enjoyed that movie, and I was excited to see her delve deeper into what interested her. And then Saltburn came out, and it was like a blank check passion project, seemingly. There was nothing interesting on that movie's mind. And now we have another seemingly blank check passion project movie from her, this time adapting what's one of the most beloved literary texts in history. And again, there's nothing interesting on her mind. So at this point, with two airballs of this magnitude, her name being attached to a movie generates zero excitement for me in the future. I hope she gets her hands on some really great writers and producers who can tell her no a little bit, because she does have some good visual sensibilities. I just feel like her unfiltered visions are completely vapid, but my theater was pretty alive for the entire showing, so what do I know? It's probably going to make a ton of money. If you have seen the movie, please do let me know what you thought of it. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you at the movies.